A little over 2 million people are serving time in a state prison or local jail in the United States. The state of Mississippi has more inmates per capita than any other state or nation in the world.
As family members of inmates are concerned that their loved ones could be the next to die.
He's come across as one inmate dead once again at Parchman, not knowing if it's your family member or if it's someone else's family member.
This needs to be closed because, people are dying.
Authorities are now investigating an inmate death at the Wilkinson County Correctional Facility. Jerry Whitlock was found unresponsive in his cell.
Mississippi's prison system has become a national symbol of dysfunction, where overcrowding, violence, and neglect collide behind razor wire. From state-run facilities like Parkman to privately operated prisons like Wilkinson, Walnut Grove, and East Mississippi Correctional Facility, reports of abuse, corruption, and constitutional violations continue to emerge. These institutions, once built to uphold justice, have instead become case studies in human rights failures, where gangs govern, mental illness goes untreated, and lives are lost. This breakdown in oversight has prompted lawsuits, federal investigations, and public outcry, raising one urgent question: how did Mississippi's prisons become some of the most dangerous in America?
And one of the most notorious facilities in the state is the maximum security prison known as Parchman Farm.
There's something bad wrong at Parchman Penitentiary.
Mama, miss you, boy.
This place needs to be closed because, people are dying.
We tired of it, need to be shut down. That prison has done nothing but destroy and took away from society since the day they opened the doors.
Videos sent to WAPT Investigates show what appears to be inmates fighting in dirty conditions. WAPT has not been able to verify the authenticity of the videos or when they were recorded.
The living conditions are horrible. He has not had a bath, a shower since last Tuesday.
A lockdown of state and regional facilities will continue as the Mississippi Department of Corrections continues to investigate the most recent violence. Since Sunday, 4 inmates were killed and several others injured in what MDOC is calling a major disturbance. 2 of those happened at the state penitentiary in Parchman. MDOC Commissioner Pelican Hall said they've confirmed some of the major disturbances are gang-related.
An inmate at the Mississippi State Penitentiary at Parchman fell victim to gang violence. That's according to Corrections Commissioner Burl Cain. Corrections officers reported the incident happened around 2 a.m. yesterday.
Investigation is now underway after a Parchman inmate is found stabbed to death. Bobby Hawthorne, seen here, was found dead in his cell Sunday afternoon. He was serving 18 years on drug trafficking and armed robbery charges.
The death of 2 Parchman inmates killed last night.
Well, as we learn more about what happened, the governor is now reacting. 12 News' Alex Love joins us now in studio with more. Alex?
Well, since New Year's Eve, there has been a total of 9 inmate deaths inside the Mississippi prison system, most of which have happened at the Parchman jail. One of the inmates has been identified by the Sunflower County coroner as Timothy Hudspeth, who was found dead in his bed inside of the Unit 30B building. The second inmate has yet to be identified until his family is notified by the Parchman staff. Autopsies show the 2 suffered from beatings by blunt objects. Though Parchman has been the center of gang violence the past couple of weeks, MDOC stated this is believed to be an isolated incident.
An inmate currently serving a life sentence for capital murder has escaped from the Mississippi State Penitentiary. 71-year-old Nevin Kerr Whitstone.
Take a look at your screen. An inmate has escaped from the Mississippi Penitentiary. According to officials with the Mississippi Department of Corrections, Gregory Triggs is serving a total of 61 years for 9 sentences, including armed robbery and kidnapping.
Emergency personnel responded this afternoon to a reported fire in Unit 29 and Unit 30. Sunflower County Sheriff James Haywood says one inmate was killed in a fight in Unit 29 at the prison. The fire was set in Unit 30.
State Penitentiary at Parchman, located in the Delta, is the state's oldest and largest prison. And now, after 121 scorching summers, the facility is finally getting air conditioning.
Mississippi State Penitentiary, known as Parkman, is the state's oldest and most infamous prison. Located on 18,000 acres in the Mississippi Delta, it has held everyone from violent criminals to civil rights activists. Today, it's best known for extreme violence, overcrowding, and inhumane conditions that have sparked national outrage and federal lawsuits. By late 2019, Parkman held over 3,200 inmates, far more than its failing infrastructure could handle. Health inspections revealed broken toilets, mold, vermin, and cells without running water. Inmates were forced to live in filth, prompting lawsuits that called the prison torturous. Mississippi's incarceration rate is among the highest in the world, and decades of neglect had pushed Parkman past its breaking point. Violence reached a peak in early 2020 when gang wars inside Parkman left multiple inmates dead, some brutally stabbed dozens of times. With nearly half of correctional officer positions unfilled, gangs like the Vice Lords, Gangster Disciples, and Simon City Royals took control. Weapons and drugs flooded the prison, and solitary lockdowns only made tensions worse. Videos leaked from inside showed bloodied floors and burning cells. The crisis forced action. Justice Department launched a civil rights investigation, and celebrities like Jay-Z and Yo Gotti helped fund lawsuits. In 2022, the DOJ found that Parkman violated constitutional rights by failing to prevent violence and provide basic care. Management failures and corruption also played a role. In 2014, Mississippi's prison commissioner was convicted in a bribery scheme involving over $1 million in kickbacks. For years, officials ignored basic repairs, underpaid staff, and even relied on gang leaders to keep order. In response to pressure, Mississippi closed the notorious Unit 29, raised officer pay, and made some repairs, including air conditioning and plumbing upgrades. While conditions have begun to improve, advocates warn that only sustained change will protect those inside. For decades, Parkman was a symbol of chaos and cruelty. Now, the question remains, can it ever become a place of justice?
News authorities are now investigating an inmate death at the Wilkinson County Correctional Facility. Jerry Whitlock was found unresponsive in his cell this morning. He was then taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Other news of note now, we're just learning about an inmate death in Wilkinson County. 40-year-old David Young died yesterday after getting into a fight with a cellmate. Young was an inmate at the Wilkinson County Correctional Facility. He went to a Jackson hospital, and that's where he passed away.
Mississippi Department of Corrections is investigating the death of an inmate. It happened at Wilkinson County Correctional Facility. Authorities there say Nisha Bonhomme got into a fight with another inmate around 6 last night. He was found on the floor, and he was sentenced in 2016 to 20 years for armed robbery.
Wilkinson County Correctional Facility stands as one of Mississippi's most violent and mismanaged prisons, revealing the deep problems within the state's privately operated correctional institutions. Located in Woodville near the Louisiana border, Wilkinson is run by Management and Training Corporation under contract with the Mississippi Department of Corrections. The medium security facility holds roughly 900 inmates, many of whom are classified as close custody or maximum security. After a high-risk unit at Parkman closed in 2010, WC's seat became a dumping ground for dangerous prisoners, earning the grim nickname, the deleting field. The violence at Wilkinson is deeply tied to gang dominance. With an estimated 80% of inmates gang-affiliated, the facility has seen gangs effectively take control. A 2018 internal audit revealed that former wardens had ceded authority to gang leaders, relying on them to keep order. This created a brutal environment marked by coercion, extortion, and frequent violence. Between 2017 and 2019, at least 6 inmates met their demise, most in gang-related attacks. One inmate, Brad Fitch, met his demise the same night he arrived in 2018. Weapons were everywhere. Over 170 homemade knives were confiscated in a 6-month span, yet stabbings continued unchecked. Beyond the violence, Wilkinson has long been plagued by inhumane conditions. The same 2018 audit reported moldy, leaking walls, filthy cells, and shortages of food, soap, and clean bedding. Understaffing remains a critical issue. With starting pay as low as $7.25 an hour, the prison struggled to fill even 2/3 of its positions, and staff turnover reached a staggering 90% annually. At times, up to 1/3 of posts sat empty, leaving gang members free to patrol the cell blocks. This lack of security fueled contraband trafficking. Phones, drugs, and weapons were openly exchanged within the prison walls. Department of Justice found that Mississippi's prison system, including Wilkinson, routinely violated inmates' constitutional rights. The DOJ cited the facility's chronic understaffing, unchecked gang power, and failure to control contraband or investigate violence. Particularly harsh criticism was directed at Wilkinson's use of prolonged solitary confinement, with investigators calling the conditions appalling and dangerous to inmates' mental and physical health. In one alarming incident, male inmates from Wilkinson units managed to access a women's dorm at another facility, underscoring the breakdown of security across MDOC-run prisons. While Mississippi officials contested some of the DOJ's findings, they acknowledged severe staffing shortages. Efforts to improve hiring have been slow to produce results, with vacancy rates still between 30% and 50% as of 2023. Despite pledges to reform, Wilkinson remains a symbol of the failures of private prison management, where violence, neglect, and lack of oversight continue to endanger both staff and incarcerated individuals.
Dennis Holmes' mother says he was a healthy young man when he entered prison at Walnut Grove. But November 1st, she got a phone call from inside the prison saying he was dead. Now she's frustrated because she says no one inside the jail can explain what caused his death.
And I know somebody knows more than what they're telling me.
Prison guards found Terry Robinson's son, Dennis Earl Holmes, unresponsive inside his cell November 1st. The 20-year-old died before paramedics could transport him to a hospital. A preliminary autopsy conducted by Lee County's coroner was inconclusive.
Walnut Grove Correctional Facility, once a youth prison in Walnut Grove, Mississippi, became one of the most notorious examples of private prison mismanagement in U.S. history. Opened in 2001 and operated first by Cornell Geo Group and later by Management and Training Corporation, the facility housed male juveniles aged 13 to 22 who were convicted as adults. Over time, Walnut Grove developed a horrific reputation for rampant abuse, corruption, and neglect. Inmates were subjected to widespread sexual assaults, beatings, and inhumane treatment. Guards and older prisoners routinely preyed on youth with impunity, leading to federal lawsuits and a consent decree in 2012 that forced the removal of all juveniles. Even after its transition to an adult facility, conditions remained dire. District Judge Carlton Reeves declared Walnut Grove a cesspool, citing gang control, guard corruption, and deliberate violence. Internal investigations revealed that staff often colluded with gangs, smuggled contraband, and forced youth to fight for entertainment. Solitary confinement and inadequate medical care further worsened conditions. In 2016, under mounting legal pressure and public outrage, Walnut Grove was shut down. The prison was also tied to a broader bribery scandal involving MDOC Commissioner Christopher Epps and local officials. Despite its horrific legacy, Walnut Grove quietly reopened in 2021 amid overcrowding across Mississippi's prison system. Officials claimed renovations and oversight reforms have been made, and the facility was reactivated as a smaller reentry program. However, by early 2022, new complaints about staff conduct surfaced. Many observers questioned the wisdom of reopening a prison once labeled one of the nation's worst, warning that past abuses should not be so easily forgotten.
East Mississippi Correctional Facility in Lauderdale County is investigating the death of an inmate. 29-year-old Robert Williams was found dead in his cell on Tuesday. Williams had been sentenced to 10 years in 2013 for burglary, aggravated assault, and armed robbery.
In Lauderdale County, an inmate death has been reported out of the East Mississippi Correctional Facility. 21-year-old Jeremy Russell was found unresponsive in his cell this morning. Russell was serving a 5-year sentence for burglary in Panola.
Confirmed with Lauderdale County Coroner that an inmate was found unresponsive at the East Mississippi Correctional Facility.
The East Mississippi Correctional Facility, located near Meridian, was designed to house the state's most severely mentally ill inmates, but instead, it became a notorious example of cruel and degrading treatment. Opened in 1999 and operated by private contractors, EMCF quickly fell into chaos due to gross neglect and underfunding. A 2013 class action lawsuit filed by the ACLU and Southern Poverty Law Center described the prison as hell on earth. Conditions inside EMCF were appalling. Cells were pitch dark and filthy, toilets broken, and mentally ill prisoners were often left to sit in their own waste. Medical and psychiatric care was either dangerously delayed or non-existent. Violence was rampant. Guards allegedly opened doors to let inmates assault one another, and suicide attempts were common. Inmates frequently set fires to draw attention to their suffering, risking further harm due to poor emergency response. Solitary confinement was often used as a substitute for treatment, exacerbating mental health crises. Despite being tasked with caring for the most vulnerable, EMCF exemplified what happens when profit-driven companies are allowed to operate with little accountability. Like Walnut Grove, it remains a symbol of the catastrophic consequences of privatized prison management in Mississippi. The stories of Parkman, Wilkinson, Walnut Grove, and EMCF reveal more than just prison failures. They expose a broader crisis of leadership, accountability, and morality within Mississippi's correctional system. Despite federal investigations, court rulings, and media attention, many of these facilities continue to operate under the same conditions that sparked national outrage. Behind every headline is a human life, trapped in cycles of violence, denied basic dignity, and often forgotten by the outside world. Until Mississippi prioritizes transparency, rehabilitation, and meaningful reform over cost-cutting and containment, its prisons will remain not places of correction, but institutions of cruelty. The time for real, lasting change is long overdue.